Is Donald Trump the Antichrist? Is there any historical reference to this notion? The idea of labeling political figures, including Donald Trump, as the Antichrist has circulated in certain religious and political circles, but it is not rooted in mainstream Christian theology or historical evidence. Let's break this down from both theological and historical perspectives. 1. Theological concept of the Antichrist. 1. Biblical sources. The term Antichrist comes from the New Testament, particularly in the epistles of John, 1 John 2:18, 1 John chapter 4:3, 2 John chapter 1:7, where the Antichrist is depicted as a figure who opposes Christ and deceives many. 1. The book of Revelation also refers to figures that symbolize evil, e.g., the beast or the false prophet, but does not use the term Antichrist directly. 2. Interpretation. Christian theologians have interpreted the Antichrist in various ways. 2. Some see it as a future person or entity who will rise to power in the end times, while others interpret the Antichrist more broadly as any system or individual who opposes Christ and Christian values. 2. Historical figures and the Antichrist label. 1. Throughout history, many figures have been called the Antichrist, especially during times of intense political or religious turmoil. 1. For example, Nero, a Roman emperor known for persecuting Christians, and Napoleon Bonaparte were labeled as such by their detractors. 2. More recently, political leaders like Adolf Hitler and Joseph Stalin have also been labeled as the Antichrist by some due to their authoritarian rule and perceived opposition to Christian morality. 3. Donald Trump and the Antichrist label. 1. Some individuals and groups, particularly within certain religious or political factions, have referred to Donald Trump as the Antichrist. 1. This perception may arise from his divisive rhetoric, unorthodox behavior for a political leader, or policies viewed as morally questionable by certain religious groups. 2. However, there is no historical or theological basis in mainstream Christianity for identifying Trump as the Antichrist. 2. Such views are typically a product of political opposition, cultural tensions, or religious speculation rather than grounded theology. 4. Religious sensationalism. 1. The notion of any contemporary figure being the Antichrist often arises in contexts where politics and religion overlap, particularly in eschatological or end-times-focused interpretations. 1. These ideas frequently come from fringe religious movements, rather than from established religious doctrines. Conclusion. There is no credible theological or historical reference to Donald Trump being the Antichrist. While certain religious or political groups may make this claim, it reflects more of their interpretations and reactions to his political career than any grounded religious teaching. Does Donald Trump represent Christian values? Whether Donald Trump represents Christian values is a matter of significant debate, often influenced by political views, personal interpretations of Christianity, and how individuals prioritize certain moral or social issues. Let's break it down into different perspectives to offer a balanced view. 1. Supportive Christian views. Many Christians, especially within evangelical and conservative communities, have supported Donald Trump, viewing him as a defender of certain Christian principles. From this perspective, Trump is seen as an ally in promoting specific Christian values, such as 1. Pro-life stance. Trump's policies opposing abortion, including appointing conservative Supreme Court justices who helped overturn Roe v. Wade, align with the views of many pro-life Christians. 2. Religious freedom. Trump has positioned himself as a defender of religious liberties, supporting policies that allow Christian organizations to act in ways consistent with their beliefs, such as opposing contraception mandates and promoting religious expression in public spaces. 3. Support for Israel. Evangelical Christians often emphasize support for Israel as part of their theology. 3. Trump's strong support for Israel, including recognizing Jerusalem as its capital, was widely praised by these groups. 4. Opposition to secularization. Many conservative Christians appreciate Trump's rhetoric against what they see as the increasing secularization of American culture, whether related to issues of gender, sexuality, or religious expression in public life. 2. Criticism of Trump's alignment with Christian ethics. On the other hand, many other Christians, including some within the evangelical tradition, have voiced concern or outright opposition to the claim that Trump represents Christian values, citing 1. Personal conduct. Trump's behavior, including divisive language, personal attacks, and admitted past moral failings, such as boasting about sexual misconduct, is often seen as inconsistent with Christian values of humility, love, forgiveness, and moral integrity. 2. Lack of empathy. Critics argue that Trump's approach to immigration, particularly the separation of families at the border and his rhetoric towards marginalized groups, do not reflect the Christian call to love one's neighbor, care for the stranger, or protect the vulnerable. 3. Truthfulness and humility. Christian teachings emphasize virtues like honesty, humility, and kindness. 3. Trump's frequent public falsehoods, self-promotion, and antagonistic approach to opponents are often pointed out as being at odds with these Christian values. 4. Christian values as a complex and varied set. Christianity encompasses a broad range of values, including both social morality, e.g., sexual ethics, sanctity of life, and personal virtues, e.g., compassion, humility, honesty. Depending on which aspects of Christian values people prioritize, they may come to different conclusions about whether Trump represents those values. 1. Social issues. Those who prioritize issues like abortion, religious freedom, or opposition to LGBTQ+ rights may feel that Trump aligns with their vision of Christian values. 2. Personal conduct and ethics. Those who emphasize personal virtues such as love, kindness, forgiveness, and humility may find Trump's actions and demeanor in opposition to Christian teachings. 4. Divisions among Christians. 1. Evangelicals. The majority of white evangelical Christians strongly supported Trump in both the 2016 and 2020 elections. 1. Many saw him as a flawed but necessary leader to protect Christian interests in the political sphere, sometimes drawing parallels to biblical figures like King David, who despite moral failings was used by God for a greater purpose. 2. Other Christian denominations. Catholics, mainline Protestants, and African American Christians have been more divided or critical of Trump. 2. Many in these groups emphasize the teachings of Christ regarding social justice, care for the poor, and the treatment of refugees and immigrants, areas where they often find Trump lacking. 5. Transactional relationship with evangelicals. Some argue that Trump's relationship with evangelical Christians is largely transactional, meaning Trump's policies align with evangelical political priorities, even though his personal life and behavior may not reflect Christian values. In this view, Trump provides political support for causes important to Christians, such as anti-abortion laws and conservative judicial appointments, while receiving political loyalty in return. Conclusion. Donald Trump's alignment with Christian values is deeply contested, with some Christians viewing him as a champion of their moral and social causes, while others criticize his behavior and policies as contrary to the teachings of Jesus. It largely depends on which values, social, political, or personal, people prioritize when assessing his leadership. Please like, share, and subscribe for more interesting deep dives like this.